Hey, good morning and welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. Today I have the one and only Barton Scott on the show. You're going to love this dude. He might be the smartest person I ever met. So just hang tight. You're gonna love this. And do me a favor and share this out with all your friends. We will see you in just a minute. And we are back. Let me bring Barton on. Barton, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Chill.
Yeah.
You're just so relaxed and chill. I love that about you, man. It makes me relaxed and chill.
Thank you.
Yeah. So Barton,
it's where we do our best work. This chill place.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I started this almost 5 years ago, and it was really to help people have a breakthrough in life, like get unstuck. In fact, I told my wife originally I was going to name the show Getting Unstuck. She's like, why wouldn't you use your last name and call it Breakthrough Walls? And so she's smarter than me. She's actually on here with us. So, tell everybody where it all began for you. Where were you born and raised?
Oh, I've spent most of my life in Austin, Texas as an adult. And I grew up really in the middle of nowhere. If you picture the middle of nowhere and picture the middle of that, it's like coastal Louisiana, and not an intellectual hotspot, but luckily my mother was a librarian. Both my parents were educators, and I was born to older parents. They were just really wise, and they, made all their mistakes on my sisters. So. It really was a great way to grow up as a young man, to be able to learn to master the outdoors, master yourself in the process. I mean, there's plenty of times that I got lost by myself, having taken a boat out and just been exploring, and just literally had to swim home, like walk/swim home. And there's a couple times, I mean, I had at least half a dozen near-death experiences by the time I was 15. And that fortified a lot of who I became. I also, like, my father early in his career was the winningest coach in state history in wrestling, and one of the winningest in a couple other sports as well. And he was just a great strategist. And my mother had this deep intellect, and she could just, one of those people that could sit with you and go as deep as you ever wanted to go, and keep it fun. And so I really got lucky in that sense. And by the time I was ready to go to college, I was really ready. I really done everything you could do in that area. And because I reached great levels in sports, particularly in wrestling, I had to understand a lot about nutrition, because you have to make weight. It's a lot like boxing, UFC. You have weight classes, and you have to make weight. If you're an ounce over, you're out. And if you want to win, you have to understand nutrition. So I started that at honestly 9 or 10, and then it just grew and grew. And I went from, okay, that's an understanding, to sort of a bodybuilding phase, to, all right, that's kind of a waste of time and an ego pursuit, to, but valuable in some places for sure. And then, because muscle is really a longevity organ, if you can be, healthy about it. What I realized, though, what really got us to how we're talking today is I was studying chemical engineering in school. I wanted a challenge, and I heard that was one of the hardest, if not the hardest things to study. And I, like I said, my parents were older, and I had this fear, like a lot of us have. If you're listening to this, you probably either had this fear or had to somehow deal with this fear of losing a parent or both parents, and
Mm,
even irrationally more so than myself dying. And that came really, front and center for me in my early 20s towards the end of school. And I was helping my mother with her health. I already knew more about nutrition than most nutritionists because I was combining nutrition with this lens of chemical engineering, and just all the hardest physics and chemistry and math basically is what that degree is, and then its application to that area. And really what that allowed me to do ultimately was understand very quickly that what she was taking supplement wise was not, she either had too much of it or it wasn't absorbing, or both. And we
right.
we struggled for a long time with like conventional medicine, and then I happened upon hair analysis and someone that really understood it, and this opened up a whole key. And I realized, wow, something, the way I've learned to say it since is really, it's the periodic table that we all learn in, like, ninth grade chemistry, and how to use it, and how that is the building blocks of everything you've ever loved, everything you ever will love, yourself, anything that exists on this planet, and much of our solar system is that periodic table. And that builds every hormone and neurotransmitter in some combination, because it builds everything on the planet, every blade of grass, every ounce of soil, every animal that we, in some way interact with or consume. And
Yeah.
yeah, so when you think of it from that perspective, it's really just hubris to not test for that in a way that's accurate. And I realized that blood was not very accurate, and because it was like us on our best behavior. It was just like
Test,
truly our
but
bodies.
what are you
Yeah.
testing for?
Right, right. So we were testing for the elements, which the good ones we call minerals, the bad ones we call heavy metals. And
Okay.
minerals end up playing this offensive and defensive role in the body, where they protect you and they help push out um, heavy metals, and ultimately become the building blocks of your hormones. And anyway, I realized all of this, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Let's see how, from one test to another, how this works for her and I. And around this time, I was starting to have more and more short-term memory issues. I think just all the depletion from sports, might literally like going all my whole life, and being somewhat of a daredevil, and just an adventure junkie and an adrenaline junkie. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. I mean, that's just how I live my life. It's like, if I wasn't testing my edge, I didn't know. I felt like it was a waste. And because we don't really have initiation practices and principles in modern culture today, pretty much anywhere in the world. And I think
Right.
that's led to erosion of a lot of things, um, relationship wise, how men are, how women are, um, how we are as a group. But what I realized ultimately, Ken, is that we were not able to absorb enough. So I ran a number of different hair analysis. We tried a number of different brands of supplements. I realized it wasn't about quality at all. Quality is making sure that what you have in it is pure and it has enough of what it says it has. That's sort of a standard for most companies now. It's really now more about, are you actually utilizing it? Are you absorbing it? And the the thing that really changed my life and shaped the next direction was applying chemical engineering and understanding how to take a industrial process and improve it, and knowing what to look for, and knowing what, how to shape that. And then just like being like self-teaching myself all throughout my 20s, reading like hundreds and hundreds of business books, and seeking mentorship and learning sales, and like all sorts of things, just becoming everything I needed to be for the company to work. I knew I'd have to create a company because after she died, I realized, no one was able to really help her, including me. And that's a very motivating force. Helplessness is not something we like to ever feel. And certainly we
No,
never like to feel it more than once. We feel it. We'll do almost anything not to feel it again. Like
right.
it feels like it's risking our own life. Our own life's in danger. And
Yeah.
yeah, so ultimately was able to take all that understanding and knowledge and funnel it into creating a different process that we have now that's unique and offers people a way to actually replenish themselves in a way that their body drinks in, understands, and absorbs, so that you replenish, you rebalance, and you start to feel younger, you feel better, you have more energy, you sleep better, and it's just been my life's work so far, and
S-
it's
s-
been it's been there's been a lot of challenges, but it's felt like the right path.
Well, we were introduced by an amazing human, Dr. Fab Mancini. Um,
Mhm.
you can't get a better introduction than that. And he
Yeah.
raves about you. So I'm sitting here listening to you, and because I hated chemistry. I mean, I remember in high school they split it up into 2 semesters. The first half was chemistry, the second half was physics. Well, I loved physics and I aced that, but I think I got a D in chemistry or something. I don't know why. But that table of elements or chart of whatever, it's like it just made, I looked at it and had a panic attack. I still do. If I think about that, I still feel that. But
Yeah.
I'm thinking
Sorry
like
for
you've
bringing up
got
that trauma.
what's
Yeah.
that?
Sorry for bringing up that trauma. I know a lot of people can relate to that.
No, dude, no.
Yeah.
But like I think I'm sitting here thinking, man, you would be the ultimate guy or human to say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. I would love it if you'd come and read the labels for me and help me understand, because I think, and we can talk a little bit about this. This is a little bit different than I normally do it, but I'd love to talk about this. Um, the stuff that they're putting in our food today, um, it can't be good for the human body. Am I wrong about that?
No, people will say things like, "Wow, your skin looks really good." And I'm like, "It's just all the minerals and Twinkies, you know? It's mainly the Twinkie." No, that's obviously.
Right,
Um, so yes, people are largely unaware of how damaging bad oils are for you. Seed oils, thankfully, is getting more press the past couple of years. I've been talking about that and thinking about that for about a dozen, and just household cleaners. I remember reading. I was 21 or 22 at the time, and I remember doing a house detox, and I felt like my brain worked significantly better after about 2 weeks, and just lighter, less detergents, less scent. No scents, no anything, and we smother ourselves in deodorant and spray copious amounts of cologne on ourselves. And even if our significant other or the person we're dating or whatever is like, I don't like it, it's like almost out of habit. And when we get really healthy, we naturally attract people through pheromones. And when you get really healthy, you don't smell bad. Like it takes a lot of work to smell bad. Like you just need a shower and sweat
right,
daily,
right,
and you detox well and you eat cleanly, because it is all those things that you're talking about that are providing this impetus into the body that the body then has to deal with, struggles to deal with. And then it's just like if you eat things that aren't in alignment for you, you end up with a lot of gas and bloating. And so
yeah,
so yeah, there's a lot to say about that. Our soil is also super depleted now. So I thought when I started this whole mission for upgraded um, that upgraded formulas would ultimately become something more and more important around like 2040. And I didn't think it would happen as early. I thought it would we'd like be obviously successful, but I didn't realize how quickly it would become so important. But in our parents' or grandparents' lifetime, depending on how old you are, but going about, let's say, just 80 years ago, there's around half of the nutrients in the soil that there was. And so that's obviously a non-sustainable rate of decline. And what you're talking about with all these foods and toxins, the world is over 1,000 times more toxic now than it was at any point in human history. And each day there's a master list of toxins, and about 20 get added each day, believe it or not. And a lot of that is just, pharmaceuticals and big, chemistry approaches that are just really only money focused. So, yeah. I mean, it's huge. Everything from the t-shirt you're wearing to like how many gallons of water it takes to produce that, like the junk clothes. I always say, like, buy long-term things and just have fewer of them and have really good quality things.
I recently heard that the effort that we put into recycling actually causes a bigger carbon footprint on the planet than the actual process, or the actually recycling the materials, because of all the stuff that we use to recycle stuff.
It's very possible. I know there's shades of gray there, and there's like, probably some companies that do it very well, and maybe they're a percentage of the companies that do it poorly, and maybe that's not the case. I don't know. I've heard similar things. I can't verify that myself, but I know that we have a long way to go, and we need to be as smart as possible. We need to have as much energy as possible. So our smart people need to have a lot of energy. Our people that aren't as brilliant need to have enough energy to not like succumb to just being engrossed by whatever's on and walking through a life like a robot, like actually being able to have sovereignty and of choice and contribute to the planet, and not just like make more people one way or another. Like not that I'm in any way against that. It's just that, if you're here, you should individually contribute beyond just like having another person. And like make the world a better place. That should be like everyone's aim in some way, shape, or form. We all do it individually in our different ways that we're called to. But
so what for you? And did you continue your education, or did it stop at bachelor's degree? Did you?
I mean, I would say since then I've read, I don't know, 700 books at least. So yes, more than I had in school. In school, I got everything I needed, because I was able to take an industrial process and improve it. That's what chemical engineers do. So, I had a nanotechnology focus in that, and that's ultimately what our products followed too, because I realized, wow, this is the future of health. And, I mean, so with our products, we're able to offer solutions that allow people, even if you have entire feet missing of your intestinal tract, even if your digestive system barely functions, you can absorb these things, and that allows you to replenish levels, which gets you feeling better so you can make better choices. And then we test your hair again and again, every 3 months, and just keep you on track. And I mean, that part's optional, but like the supplements on their own work really well. But it's really important, isn't it, to know what you need and know what you have too much of. Like I can tell you, a lot of people, like if you're listening to this, you probably have low potassium, you probably have high calcium, and that is causing a lower metabolism. It's causing you to work harder to be as fit as you could be. Like there's just a ceiling there, no matter, like if you're doing the same exercise, eating the same diet otherwise, and had this imbalance, you would just, like you'd be a lot more fit for the same amount of work. And So there's so much knowledge there. I always believe in leverage, and nutrition is definitely the biggest leverage in health beyond
Yeah.
just moving. Yeah, but when you combine them and you have a lot more energy, then that energy ultimately becomes what you can do in life. And that's what I remember thinking. I had so much brain fog, and then I had mold issues. I had hypothyroidism from wrestling. Which is just like starving your thyroid of the minerals it needs. And so you need things like iodine, selenium, zinc, and copper. Your adrenals need things like magnesium, potassium, and zinc, and sodium. And so like when you're out of those things, you don't have energy, and you have a lot of brain fog, and you start to have leaky brain. You start to make worse decisions, like you lean more on alcohol and things like that.
Yeah.
And you find a lot of people. We're on the path to working with some addiction facilities throughout the country, and people that have addictions have extreme deficiencies and extreme toxicities. They have a lot of iron toxicity. Typically, they have low copper. They have low sodium. And what I've found and what I'm writing about is how all of these things become your personality, how you view yourself, how people view you.
Yeah.
And when you get to that point of that happening day in, day out, that becomes a habit, becomes, how you know yourself. So we can actually now tell with, our team of nutritionists that I've trained and brought on, that someone can have what we would typically diagnose as bipolar. Not that we do diagnoses of like that, but if someone is having ADHD or having really any issue at all, it's going to be linked to this, because it's a building block of the whole world. And I just find that incredibly interesting. I think, I would love to talk with anyone that also finds that incredibly interesting, because it's endlessly fascinating, the permutations that offers, and the
Yeah.
ability to address solutions for people.
What about, I hear all the time that especially in America, there's a huge addiction to sugar and sugary products.
Yeah.
What, how much truth is there in that? And in your opinion, what can be done to cut that to I mean, I know I've
Mhm.
personally been through sugar addiction, if I'm not still,
Mhm.
so like, how do you cut that off? How do you, because it's like,
Yeah. That's a good question.
it's pretty serious when you just stop sugar. Like,
Sure. The the things that you need, sugar, people reach for sugar for a couple different reasons. Mainly they have low energy, and they're looking for a sensation of feeling. And um and they may not have a good diet otherwise, so that's causing issues. So you need to have enough. Turns out when you have no salt in your diet, or very low amounts of quality salt. For example, I salt my water every day, because that's the only way I've been able to bring my hair test results up to ideal, is by salting my
wow.
water and salting my food, really as much as I want. On the food side, and salting water like around 2 teaspoons of salt a day. I'm active though, and I'm about 100 and a little under 200 pounds. Um, so size, obviously that depends, and it depends on a lot of different factors, and that's why you test. We actually own the phrase "test, don't guess," even though we're very much a supplement company. We're very much a testing company as well, because my goal is really to change healthcare by making it into healthcare instead of sick care. And when you're not testing the right things, the most foundational things, and I believe this is the most foundational, then there's just no chance for being optimal. Unfortunately, that's just really the mathematics of it, and the chemistry of it, and the physics of it. Um, so with sugar, we reach for it because of low energy. We reach for it because our calcium to magnesium ratio is off. We reach for it because we have low sodium, as I mentioned. We reach for it because our adrenals don't have the minerals they need. Our thyroid doesn't have the minerals they need. Our gut has a lot of dysbiosis in it, and a lot of just you could just call it gut dysfunction in general. Probably leaky gut, probably other things like gluten, probably unaddressed emotional. I mean, a mixture of so many things, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If we just heal and seal the gut, and we even, I mean, like I said, with our approach, even if the gut's not healed and sealed, you can still absorb the minerals, because our particle size is so much smaller than anything out there, and stable. It's that 100 out of 100 steps when you eat food, and it goes from, grass-fed beef or a salad into your bloodstream. Those 100
Right.
steps, let's call it, that had to happen. This is, 100 out of 100 as it goes into the bloodstream and it's being transported throughout the body.
Yeah.
That final step is what we do with all of our products. So that, we don't need your gut to work well, because your gut is on crutches. If you're like most people, when I say, I mean, if you're listening to this, either you or someone but most people have these issues, and
Wow.
so yeah, it makes it tough to overcome, because you need momentum. I really feel like we provide people certainty, and we provide people momentum. Certainty in terms of test results, you know what to work on. Momentum in terms of, even if you're in a bad spot, it gets you going. So low magnesium, the anxiety aspect of craving things is the other thing. And I would say most people have low magnesium. For sure, we know that, like 8 out of 10 people, on a day-by-day basis, because it's a water-soluble mineral you have to take in daily. It's not stored. So.
Wow. Okay, so like I said in the beginning, you're one of the smartest people I've ever met. You're obviously very, very educated in this realm. I had Dr. John Jaquish on
John.
the show, and he's 50 whatever years old, and I mean ripped and PhD and super guy. And he says he eats once a day at 7:00 at night, a 24-ounce steak, and that's it. So he's on the and I'm like, dude, what? I would die. Like, I don't know that I could do that. So what, there's, and my point of bringing that up is I've had a lot of people in the nutrition world on the show over the years. There's so many different opinions. There's just so many. How does one disseminate through all of the noise out there and get to what's true for them?
That's such a great question. And my answer is test, don't guess. And because then it's not an opinion. And then we're actually measuring with the building blocks of the planet that we're on and that we are made out of. I don't care what your religious beliefs are or aren't. What you have to obviously understand is that you are the building blocks of what's on the planet. You are the periodic table. And if this is news for you today, I'm glad that I was able to provide that, because that's not going to change. And if you think it's something else, then I would say, like, good luck, trying to, prove that to me or anyone else. So assuming that we can all agree on that, which I hope so, then because there's about a million ways to prove that that's the case, probably more. And with that understanding, it points at something, which is you can do a hair test today with us, and 3 months from now, it will be different because you either took action or didn't. But either way, whatever you did do and however your life changed, you went through a breakup, something major happened in your life, you had a stressful event, or you started taking better care of yourself, and that might have meant that you started working out many times a week, and now you're sweating and depleted, and your needs went up also, right? It's just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
your car's in the garage. That's not good. Like most engines need to be run fairly often, and that's a good thing. But if you're also taking that car on cross-country trip after cross-country trip and know what, like you also need what you need to maintenance more. You need to pay
Yeah.
better attention to it, right? And that's what we're really talking about. And I find that a lot of people don't seem to correlate that with, I mean, our body's just a assembly of many beautifully amazing machines. It's one way to think of it. And yes, like spirit and all, so many amazing things like that. And also, um, yeah, I mean, it's important to understand that every diet that you have ever done at some point will fail you. And it's because when we eat food, it breaks down to like why we actually eat is kind of toward that sugar question. Why are we craving sugar? We're craving nutrients, and sugar gives us at least the calories, right? They're not good for us, but they're calories. So if you haven't had enough protein throughout the day, there's a great chance that you're going to crave sugar. You'll crave ice cream at the end of the evening. That's one way you screwed up your macros for the day. What I think about is micros, and because all of our macros, our foods, break down to micros, and that's what our body's really craving. It's saying, I really need chromium or iron or copper or zinc or magnesium or potassium, and that's why I'm sending you back to eat more of the potatoes or the steak or the whatever, because they have that profile, and your body certainly remembers that. Now, your body remembers calories, and it remembers things that are highly addictive as well. And when we eat plenty of protein, when we have enough micronutrients, I don't have cravings like I used to have. I just don't. And that allows me to focus.
What is that? Give me an example of something that's going to deliver micronutrients, like M&Ms.
Nutrient dense foods. So, I mean, that could be really good regenerative agriculture approaches to grass-fed beef, lamb, eggs, greens. Maybe they're sauteed lightly, maybe they're raw, maybe it's a mix. It seems to be ideal because you want like folate and things like that do break down under heat. You want other things to actually break down more during heat. And having a mix of those, and then supplementing and knowing your deficiencies, because I promise, if you're listening to this and you have deficiencies, congratulations, like you're human, and there's just levels to it. And if you ignore it, for sure you have no chance of being optimal, because your blood will never be a good marker. If you're like, oh, I'll just do blood work, that won't work. And hopefully you caught the beginning of what we talked about, because I mean it when I say it will not work. You could spot a deficiency. If you're 40, you could have spotted it at 30 in hair or sooner.
Wow.
Most likely much sooner, because it is pulling from stores in your body to make your blood as good as possible. And because that's the body's intelligence, and it's good. It thinks short term, and it keeps you alive. And otherwise, a lot of people would just die because their organs would shut down due to the lack of nutrients in their blood. And they would be at like 20% kidney function and 10% liver function, and that's so. Instead, the body's pulling from things like bone marrow, and you wonder why so many people have bone disease. What would normally be like halfway through life, and so that there's just no escaping. You need to test, and you need to supplement things that you absorb well, even if you have a leaky gut. And that's the reason why I created what I've created. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lot more than just a company. It's an approach to helping people live better, really, and just a path toward mental health hygiene. I mean, if something works, you should do it daily. Like showering works. I shower daily. Sweating,
But here, I have so I'm sitting here again. You're you're so intellectual that I don't know that this message lands for the layperson. And I put myself in the layperson category. Um, when, how do I word this? Okay. So years ago, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago, I had this unbelievable pain in my gut show up. I mean, like it felt like somebody was stabbing me and it wouldn't stop. It just kept getting worse. So I go to the ER and the doctor comes in, gives me morphine. That was a cool trip. And he says, you have diverticulitis. And I'm like, okay, so I've tried all these things, and I went vegan for 6 months. It was at first it was awesome, but then it got worse. What does somebody do to interrupt the programming that we've all received? Because we've all received programming, and we may be stuck in this programming. How do we interrupt it? How do we stop it and change course?
I know you also meditate a lot.
I do
That
every day.
that is that and sunlight and just starting to do the things that allow you to sleep well. Magnesium every night that you absorb. We're doing a clinical trial. I feel like it's a public service announcement at this point. If it was like your company or someone else's, I would also say this, but we have the best sleep supplement on the market, and pretty soon it's going to be obvious to everyone that that's the case, with this clinical trial that's out soon. So, and most supplement companies would never do a clinical trial because the products, they're just selling products. With ours, we've seen people 8x their deep sleep, which is like the key to longevity, the key to optimal life and health. And that's just one of the supplements. So that's called upgraded magnesium. And we've sold it for years and people absolutely love it. It's changed my life. It's allowed me to do and achieve a lot more. And, in terms of getting on the path, getting on track, I think is really your question, right?
Yeah.
It's a mixture of like checking in. So on a daily basis, I do things like meditation, breath work, even if I have to wake up early, which means I have to go to bed early, and which means I have to sleep well and use that time well. Doesn't mean that I'm going to be in bed for 9 hours. I might be in bed for 7.5, but I slept really well. I was efficient.
Yeah.
Thanks to all of these things. And then it allows you to do more, achieve more, think better, and you effectively become smarter. And that compounds really nicely, right? So because every day versus you, not you versus like the smartest human on the planet, you versus you is what it's all about, right? So you versus you versus you did this thing, you didn't do this thing. You took this test, you acted on it, you didn't take the test, you passed on it. Where are you in a year? Where are you in 5 years? How are those goals doing? Those are the questions that I would ask you to ask yourself. And those are questions I ask myself all the time. And with that knowledge, we can really see ourselves from a third person perspective. And we can go, if I really love myself, or if I really love the people that interact with me, if I want to be gracious to them, if I want to be abundant and be giving to them, I have to be able to invest in myself and slow down. And I need to be able to tune in to me. And meditation helps with that. Breath work helps with that. Plenty of sun on the skin helps with that. Grounding, bare feet, for example, on the soil helps with that.
Do you use sunblock?
I don't. I mean, almost
I've heard
never.
that's worse than the sun.
Yeah. You just measure your sun exposure and then, use a shirt over your face and then turn over again and like get out of the sun for a while, then go back in, and just like plan a little bit. And also don't wear sunglasses, oddly enough, when you're in the sun, because it tells your eyes tell your skin what to do. And if you're wearing shades, you will burn a lot faster.
Wow.
And a sunburn's actually and this is going to be shocking for some people, a sign that you need more sun. You just need it in a intelligent dose. So if you go out and burn, and oh, look at that, see, that is
I can't go in the sun.
yeah, exactly. That's just like, and part of us knows that's dumb, and we're just like, we just don't know. Most of us don't know what to do about it. Um, so it's just
Wow.
that's your reminder in PSA that you need more sun, not less. And it doesn't mean you should be out there for 5 hours, but good God, you should be able to stay out there. Don't you think our ancestors could be in the sun for 30 minutes without a sunburn? Yeah, for sure.
Right. My wife has a question that I put up on screen. This is a family member that she's talking about.
So is there a way to detox from the body from radiation treatment? Cancer is present as a result of radiation someone had 4 years ago. Yes. So remember, all things in the body are elements, all things. And frequency is elements are frequency. And many great thinkers throughout the world have understood that frequency is the key to everything, vibration. And it's another way of saying frequency. Elements are physical matter that have specific frequencies. So if you're someone that's like in the crystals, guess what? Frequency, elements, right? So the way to detox from radiation, there's many different types of radiation. There's many different forms. Is really, like I said, minerals play offense and defense. And defense. So both sides. If you've ever seen the movie 300, when they go shields up, minerals are doing that in your body. They're protecting you electrostatically in the cells, right? So they're protecting your cells. Your cells are protected and they have enough energy, then your organs are happy. Your organs are happy, your body's happy. If that's the case, then you're dis-ease free. You're free of dis-ease. So so you have a lot of ease in your body, and that's what we call health. And with this approach, my answer there again is follow the process, trust the process, and that will get you better. And then do everything else we talked about. Be getting your nutrients, buying organic and grass-fed and all of those things should be a staple. It's still not going to be enough, unfortunately. So doing everything else we talked about is really important. And when you do
the right supplements,
the right supplements, the right testing, we have consultations with a team of practitioners on our teams that are just so insightful that it's just like one of the better conversations probably ever have. And if you can do that, ideally every 3 months, the compounding effect of that is that you make more money, you have more energy, enjoy life more. Like, I'm 35, my testosterone's twice what it was when I was 24, 25. I was like low 500s then. I'm over 1,000 now. And so at 35, I can put on muscle literally as fast or faster than I did at 24, 25. And I can hold it and maintain it and have more energy and think better and sleep better. And, just every aspect of life is better. And that can be the case into your 40s and 50s and, things like that. We made a herbal blend that also supports men and women called Upgraded Tea, because both men and women, by about 30, their testosterone drops. And this might be really surprising because this is also an answer is like, because that product is just super nutrient rich with about 50 clinical studies on it. And it nourishes the body in a way that, both men and women have a lot of testosterone, more than they have estrogen. And people think of, HRT, which no, it's not really necessary. There's many, many other things. This is an approach. Minerals become hormones and neurotransmitters. And most quote unquote hormone experts never look at minerals, and they don't really know the building blocks of hormones, actually. Because I've given those presentations and I've said, hey, by show of hands, can anyone tell me the building blocks of this hormone or that or that or that? And No, they're just prescribing TRT because someone made it and they realized they could sell it. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Dude, okay, so hopefully Big Pharma's not watching this right now. But
uh,
so I'm kidding.
yeah,
But that again, I go back to as a society, because of what I just mentioned and other things, financial greed or whatever, um, we are programmed. I was in the hospital with the
yeah.
virus
Thing.
thing, and
Mhm.
with double pneumonia, and this guy walks in literally wearing a space suit. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
what are you doing? And so and he's like, we'll treat you with remdesivir, and I'm like, no, you won't. I've read about that stuff. You're not treating me with that. Just give me oxygen and fluids. And he argued, this doctor, this Indian doctor, argued with me. And I'm like, I'm out of here. I checked myself out and
Nice,
ended up at another hospital.
nice.
And but the average person that hadn't read up on that
Sure.
didn't have friends that like Fab and other people that were sending me information.
Yeah.
How do you what's the word, deprogram the
Mhm.
human population, make them go, wait a minute, this, you've been sold a lie. Like,
Yeah, I think that we get people healthy enough and we show them that other things work. Because the average person that is our like, raving customer is like a man or woman that has lived enough life that they've been let down by multiple doctors, and they've seen that approach not work for them through like many, many, many times. So because of that, they're over here at this just cliff of a spectrum, and they're going, okay, that didn't work. What do I do now? I've been reading, I've been self inquiry, I've tried so many things, and
right,
some have helped, some I'm not sure, and maybe some made it worse. Who knows? And I think when you've gone through enough pain, you're ready to look for solutions more so than you ever. Like the when are most relationship books bought after breakups? Yeah, it's like for sure. And when do most get read? I think probably when think times are bad.
yeah,
And it's just like, when do you think about your finances most? When you have least. And it so it I think it really take for most people, because most people are not toward motivated, they're away from motivated. They have to be in enough pain to figure it out. And
mm,
and most people aren't like, so many people are not, and I don't think this is your audience, but if you're listening to this, you know someone at least that just can't seem, you want to help them and they can't seem, you seem to want to help them more than they want to help themselves, right? And that could just mean that it's just a parent and they're just used to that programming, as you said,
yeah,
and they've had it their whole life, and they grew up, before the internet and before you could really think for yourself, and when it was the best people seem to just trust the system, and you know um, and now, like, the best people are the ones innovating new systems. I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's what we've
yeah,
done. And um, we're giving people options. So when people in general have a good or great experience, particularly if they have many bad experiences, but regardless of that, they want to know more, tell people, and go deeper, because it's working and they're having great results. So yeah, I think that's really the path. And
so
pain's usually the catalyst. So
is
yeah.
is there, in your opinion, is there a way, because one of the questions I ask everybody is, what keeps people stuck, in your opinion? What keeps people from experiencing freedom and joy and financial wealth and success? And I do think that I've been broke and homeless, and I've been wealthy, wealthy's better. Like, what do you think keeps people from having it all? The real freedom in life. What's the main thing?
Loving yourself and being able to love others and receive love, and not being afraid of love. And
Wow.
yeah, I think that's really it. Like, we are all at our essence just pure love. And I wrote a post a while back that it seems like the real work of loving is to simply remove the obstacles to love. And that seems to be our mission, really, is how do we love other people? How do we love ourselves better? How do we find more compassion even in the midst of extreme pain and heartbreak? I mean, I just went through just the toughest heartbreak of my entire life, a few days ago. And
Wow.
I'm still going through it. And I'm learning to, in new levels, in new ways, have compassion for myself, really have compassion for her, even though it was terrible. Like, we were like completely in love, just moved to a brand new city together, and things are great. And that's the last time I see the person, and I find out that she had cheated and left me, and and it's just like,
Wow.
and had also said she had just like never been loved that well, and had never opened her heart that fully. And people
Wow.
just get scared, and it doesn't have anything to do with us often. Like 9 times out of 10, it's this, it's just almost none of our business. And it really is. It's removing those splinters. And I didn't always know how to love the way I can today. I didn't always know how to feel emotions and be grateful. And be grateful even when you feel like you're in so much pain, you almost wish you were dead. That and you feel so disconnected, and you feel like the world couldn't possibly make sense. And you've alchemized all of this pain for someone and yourself. By healing them, you some simultaneously seem to heal yourself. And really, meeting that right person. I've always felt like the right person again and again makes you feel that there's no place but here. And I had that. We had that together, and it was just, I think it scared her. And the only path right now for me, and I think for many people who've gone through something like this, like that had never happened to me. As far as I know, I like never experienced betrayal like that. And in business, yes, not in relationship, and when things were just incredible. Like,
Yeah.
10 out of 10, like great, like, and then like, they leave an hour later and you never see them again. And it could have been that. And at the same time, it could be any other thing. It could be a natural disaster. It could be a freak accident. It could be, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, what do you take from that? I guess you just, something I wrote a few years ago is that acceptance creates ease, and ease creates acceptance. And it's just, so like, what in the world, or what in her life was missing? People have a lot of traumatic things that happen to them in life. I know I found out, like, also that day that she had, experienced rape multiple times growing up. And
Wow.
you just wonder, and you're like, wow, like what a bright human otherwise. And and you just kind of, and you kind of go, wow, that must have been crushing. And you're like, how'd you get beyond it? And then you realize 24 hours later, when you get that phone call, that they didn't get beyond it. It was still there.
Right.
Or they didn't get fully beyond it. And
Yep.
I mean, there's that saying that hurt people, and it's really just our path, I think, for that reason, for ourselves and for others, that that we remove these splinters and obstacles to love, to loving well, to loving fully. And I another thing I wrote was that when we open our heart, our mind finds the answers. And so my process and work has been to go, how can I fully feel the pain of that betrayal, and know that there must be something even greater on the other side. How can I have this ultra painful thing that feels like a death in the family? And I've lost a parent that was incredibly close to me, and that's, as you remember, the start of the conversation, really,
Yep.
losing my mother, who had always been there for the family, and watching her suffer and have aneurysm and be gone quickly. And just, it's just the unfairness is hard to deal. And yet, I when we have the energy to go back, to tie it all together, to when we have more energy versus less, we have more ability to handle joy, and we have more ability to handle pain. And
Totally
yeah.
agree. Dr. Wayne Dyer is probably my favorite spiritual teacher of all time. And he wrote, and I said this in my first book. I wrote, pain is the predecessor of all wisdom. And he wrote that, and I obviously gave him credit for it. But it's so hard. I've been exactly where you are right now, and it's, man, it's painful. It's unbelievably painful. But I can tell you this from my perspective: had that not happened to me, I wouldn't have my two amazing daughters.
Yeah.
And because there was no chance in that other situation. So, man, everybody on here is praying for you. I don't know if you can see the comments or not, but including me. I wasn't expecting this to come up. So thank you for your transparency and sharing that, because no matter where we are on our journey, we all have to experience pain.
Thank you.
It sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think sharing it, just like you just shared it right back, allows us to regain unity. Because when you're under the false belief that you're the only one that this has happened to, which that's not the case, but when you talk to person after person and they've experienced something, equally bad or worse or similar, it helps you get back to unity, because that's that separation of self. It's believing the false belief that we are separate from each other. And I know that, and this is just a great reminder, because it feels like coming back home when you hear that someone else has gone through and survived, and then managed to thrive in something that is currently crippling you. And so thank you for sharing that.
Dude, I think I told you I'm a recovered alcoholic with more than 20 years sober now, and this I'll never forget this because when I came sliding into Alcoholics Anonymous with my ass on fire and couldn't find my way out of a wet paper bag, and I remember this old New Yorker guy. I can't do the accent, but he used to say, when you share the good, you double it. When you share the bad, you cut it in half. So the more
Wow.
that I was like, wow, that's kind of powerful, because if we
Yeah.
share the bad stuff going on in our life with other people, it's like, okay, just a little sliver of it may have got, and we work through it, and the best way is helping other people, man. And you've done
Yeah.
that today. You've helped a lot of other people, and you've got a whole day in front of you left to help a bunch more people.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. I hope it's been valuable to those listening, and I hope what we shared towards the end was not too heavy, and that it was actually also valuable.
It was unbelievably valuable. People on here are saying thank you. If you go to the right up there, you can see public comments or comments. You can see all the comments. There's a lot of comments on here. People need to hear this, man. You go to Instagram, and it's like people are like, a friend of mine, friends of mine call it the bikini Lamborghini crowd. Like, everything looks perfect, and that's not life. That's not real life. Real life is what we're talking about right now. Real life is the pain that you went through, that, and if you reframe it, look at this, like, your mother passed away, and you were in the midst of, or the beginning stages of the journey that you're currently on now, and it was that pain that propelled you into what you're doing now, and the lives you're freaking changing and impacting, man. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Something good's going to come out of this. Hugely good for you, I promise you. So this is good, man. This is good. God bless you, man.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thank you for the comments. And
thank you for being here. You're amazing. Because you could have easily canceled. Like, dude, I'm going through too much crap right now. I can't do this. I'm glad that you showed up. My wife is asking.
Yeah. Yeah. How do people make appointments with your practitioners? When you go to Upgraded Formulas, the website, it's upgradedformulas.com. You click on hair test and consultation. Once you have your hair test ordered, if you order a hair test and consultation, the results get emailed to you, and along with a link to book with a practitioner, so that there's something that you can, a value that you can discuss. And yeah.
Somebody type that www.upgradedformulas.com into the comments, please. Put the www in front of it so it's clickable from the comments. If you don't, it won't be clickable. Barton, you're a good dude, and we just went through Austin. We went down. This is a few weeks ago, but we went down to San Antonio to the river thing.
Yeah. Riverwalk. Yeah.
Yeah. And took that little boat ride around the river. But my wife just put it in the comments. Thank you. Dude,
yeah, I'm actually out in Miami now. That's how quickly it's changed. Moved to Miami together.
Wow.
And so now I'm left a place where I had a huge network. So yeah, if you're in Miami, or I should say, if you know some people in Miami, that you feel like should connect me, because I left a great community of people there. maybe, I don't know, maybe being on an island, so to speak, now is the right thing. And um, yeah, hopefully this is a good, I feel like, especially for men, we hide our emotions. And I think
Yep.
you can both do the opposite of that, and also, do everything else you need to do. So,
Do you remember I'm, I'm not making light, but do you remember the beginning of Austin Powers when
maybe.
Vanessa, the fembot, blew up and he was really sad? And he's like, wait a
Yeah.
tick. That means
Yeah.
I'm single.
Oh man,
So
that's funny.
I'm I'm
That's
kidding,
funny.
but like, dude, I feel your pain. I'm telling you, I feel it. I've been there. I've experienced it, and
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
my wife just said this. Miami happens to be one of my favorite cities in the world. It's
Mm.
such an amazing city. So,
Yeah.
and I know a lot of people that work with Grant Cardone in Miami, and
Mhm.
I know a lot of people there. So.
Great.
Um, but anyway,
Beautiful. Yeah.
sending you lots of love, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
Received.
Thank you for being a guest today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your vulnerability. It's been absolutely amazing. So seriously, thank you. And
Yeah.
everybody, make sure you go to upgradedformulas.com. Follow Barton. Are you on Facebook, Instagram, all the
Yeah.
things?
Barton Scott or Ask Barton on Instagram. And then at Upgraded Formulas on Instagram is our company. The website is the best place to book and find supplements. The others, have me sharing probably a lot of relationship stuff for the next however long, but also nutritional things that I find interesting to remember and helpful to know. So, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
So powerful, dude. Thank you so
thank
much
you.
for being so transparent. Don't leave me.
Yeah.
My wife is now following you.
Yay.
Don't leave. I'm gonna end the show and but hang tight. We'll be right back together here in a second. So I want to say
Yeah.
thank you to everybody who's watching. If you didn't share this out, this is a powerful interview. So share this out across all your social media if you would. Make sure you follow Barton and go to the website upgradedformulas.com and get some hair testing done and find out how to fix your health, get it on the right track. Barton, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you guys later.